Hi everyone, this is Mike Langlois, LCSW, and today I wanted to talk to you about SEO, search engine optimization. Now I know it's a boring topic for a lot of us therapists, but I want you to bear with me because I think you're going to find what I have to say interesting and not so foreign as what you may think. So some big changes have happened in terms of SEO in the past week or two. But before we get to that, I want to make sure you understand what search engine optimization is. A lot of you have been hearing the words SEO if you do anything online. And what is SEO? It stands for search engine optimization, and it means how to get search engines to have you pop up so that when someone Googles, your name comes to the top. So if they think, oh gee, I want a therapist that has expertise in PTSD, they look at therapist PTSD and boom, your name pops up. The higher up your name pops, the more likely they are to click on you first. And the more likely they are to click on you first, the idea is, the more likely that they're going to make an appointment or connect with you first. So SEO, the way it used to be, was focused on very heavily keywords. Keywords that would be things that we would sum you up with. So you'd have some SEO consulting, or you would look up some stuff online, or Google would do something for you, and you'd realize that your SEO keywords were counselor, PTSD, psychotherapist, and the idea was that you put as many of these keywords in your content of your website and as many keywords as you could in these things they call meta tags, and the search engines would find you. And so you wouldn't have to do anything else, the idea was. You would have to just have all these keywords inherently in what your ad was. So that's the way things used to be. But things have changed, and in fact it's probably a very good change for those of you that are just getting ready to start with social media, as well as those of us who have been around it a lot. So first, how have they changed? Well, in terms of money, when I first started listing my practice in Google, I paid 6 cents a click. What that means is for every person that saw my link popping up and decided, oh, I'm going to see what that's about, Google would charge me 6 cents. And 6 cents was actually how much it would be for me to show up pretty high on the list. So like I said, when I started working and started doing social media and software networking for my practice, I was paying 6 cents a click. Nowadays in my area, if I pay $6 a click, I'm actually competing with some people. So what that means is that in the area that I work, a whole bunch of therapists figured out, oh gee, it's important that patients can find me on the web. And so they began to compete for that placement, just like a placement in an ad used to be in terms of classifieds. So you can see where this is going. At a certain point, people can't afford to compete like that. And certainly that's not something I've been doing. I have not been using Google for more than, say, 2 cents a click. I have myself in there just to sort of stay in the game, but my ad isn't showing up at all, probably, if most of you do a search for therapist PTSD. I'm not going to be there. My practice is pretty full. So the question then is how is that happening without my using SEO that way? Well, let me tell you a little bit about how things have changed, and then you'll see perhaps how I've been doing things is a way that you want to do things too. So Google has come out with this new algorithm, and it's not it's about a couple months old, I think. And if you want to know the ins and outs and nuts and bolts of this stuff, you want to go to SEOmoz.com or ChristopherPenn.com or ChristopherBrogan.com, and they can give you a lot of the technical stuff. I'm going to try to just give you my perspective on it as someone that's been in the social media field, but also as a therapist. And these are just my opinions, and this is still pretty new, so don't be surprised if a lot of the stuff I say maybe doesn't make as much sense in a few months as it hopefully does now. But what Google Panda is it's an algorithm, and it's the way the computers and the servers and the gadgets at Google manage to calculate how best to find somebody, how to rank their site. So in the past, it used to be heavily ranked on keywords. So the #1 website, which often was Google, would be ranked by the keywords because they had the most clicks, they had the most people putting in their keywords. Google Panda changes that, and Google Panda changes search engine optimization forever, and I think a couple of really key ways. The first is because of Google Panda, Google's results now factor in your social connections. Okay, so those people you're connected to on Facebook, on Twitter, your level of influence is actually calculated as part of the algorithm. Secondly, these results are adjusted on an individual basis, which means that if I type in therapist PTSD and my colleague Susan Gerleo types in therapist PTSD, we're going to get different results because our results are not just going to be based on a keyword. They're going to be based on the people we're connected with and the people we know and the content of their websites and so on and so on. So how this changes things is that my connections to others, not keywords, now affect my searches and my results, and now affect your searches and your results. So I'll say that again. My connection to others, not just keywords, affects my searches and my results, and your searches and your results. So those of you who've worked with me have heard me say for a while that websites are being treated sometimes by therapists as sort of glorified classified ads that you just park out there and that's it. This is going to be what affects that. That it's not just about what keywords you've got in your meta tags anymore. It's how connected are you to other people, and what specifically are you looking for, and what specifically are your friends or connections looking for. Okay, so what this means for therapists is a few important things. One is that therapists on Twitter, Facebook, and other social media are going to have more opportunity to influence people than others. What do I mean by that? The fact that you already are connected by Twitter and Facebook and you already have followers means you have greater social influence. And since Google Panda factors that in, what that means is that you're going to have more social influence and most likely show up higher than somebody who's just got a website parked out there that has some keywords that may be really snazzy but doesn't have any connection on Facebook or Twitter, doesn't have any connections with other people on Facebook or Twitter. So therapists that have sort of been hiding out and not doing anything with social media other than a website are going to find that they're actually lower and lower in the rankings because they're just depending on keywords. Okay, so that's one thing. The other is that people who are socializing, or people who socialize right now, say you go out after you hear this video blog and you actually go and do a Twitter account, open it, just start making friends and start making collegial connections, you're going to be ahead of everyone that does that tomorrow or 3 days from now or 3 months from now, and that this is going to keep going. And what I predict you're going to see happen is you're going to see less and less hits for the therapists who are just hanging out in space with a website and nothing else, and more influence and hits for folks that are very well connected with others through Twitter, Facebook, MySpace, and other forms of social media. Okay, so you want to start socializing online now if you aren't, and you want to get connected with people, and not just open up an account so that it hangs out in space. We've got to move beyond that. We've got to understand that if we want to have some influence as therapists in the marketplace for therapy, we're going to need to connect with other people online. It's sort of like networking like we did in the old days where you went out and talked to somebody about your practice. But now what you want to do is you want to be connecting with everybody online that you can, that are colleagues, and building up a network and letting them know what you're interested in, letting them know what you're an expert in. So the last thing I'm going to say about this, besides socializing online, is that we know how to do this, okay? This basically adds up to quality relationships and quality service. Therapists know how to do that. We know how to make relationships. We know how to provide good service. So it's not like you need to do anything different other than access the technology. So this change in search engine optimization is actually a game changer that we, I think, have a head start in psychotherapy. We know how to connect with people. We know how to socialize with people. So if you want to see more detail, like I said, go to christopherpenn.com. He's got a great article about this. But most importantly, start talking with your colleagues about this and start doing things online, because it's going to make you more likely to be seen and more likely for your practice to grow. Thank you very much for listening. I know this was a long post, but this was something I thought you wanted to know right away. This is Mike Langlois, LICSW. Bye-bye.